Today is the last in the series of the Growing in God's Love theme, and it's the day to celebrate the harvest and all the wonderful things that we reap from the fields that God has given to us. And I'm going to start this sermon out in a very strange way. I'm going to tell you of a recurring dream that I have, and then I'm going to try to figure out what the dream means. It's a dream of gardening. It's a dream of great harvests, and it's a little bit strange. In my dream, I have inherited a plot of land, perhaps an acre or two, and so I set out to make for myself a beautiful garden that will be just like paradise. And in order to do that, I know that firstly I must prepare the soil, just as I have told you in this series of sermons. You need good soil in order to start out that garden. And in the dream, in order to make the soil good and get it ready, I begin to buy up truckloads of broken concrete from places where buildings have been torn down, and I bring the trucks in and they dump the piles of broken concrete, and I begin to spread it out across this vast garden that I am making for myself. And then I find a place where someone has torn up a tarmac parking lot, and I buy the broken lumps of tarmac and I throw them onto the ground, and I buy some old buildings that were made of concrete block and steel reinforcing bar, and I bring all of this broken, hard material and I spread it out until it's 2 feet thick across that entire area. And I think to myself with smug satisfaction, now the soil is ready to be seeded. And I go out and I begin to plant seeds in my beautiful garden, but the seeds I'm planting are very strange. I buy up a bunch of rusty barbed wire, and I cut it into 4-inch sections, and I scatter it out across the broken concrete and steel rusty reinforcing rods and the tarmac, and then I throw down rusty nails, and then I throw down broken pieces of glass and used razor blades, and I spread them out neatly and well spaced. But of course, a garden that's rich as that, even with that wonderful soil and those good seeds, needs to be fertilized. And so for fertilizer, I buy 50-gallon drums of used motor oil and industrial waste. And I begin to pour it out. Can you see how beautiful my garden is so far? And all the while that I'm doing this in my dream, I'm thinking to myself, I am the greatest gardener that ever lived, and this will be a garden as beautiful as paradise itself. But then, when everything is done and ready, and I'm standing back waiting for beautiful things to grow coincidence, but one by one, as these gardeners come to see me, they look at my garden and then they look at me as if there's something wrong with me, and they say, I'm sorry, I don't want this job. I applied by mistake, and I'm starting to worry that nobody will tend my wonderful garden. Until at last one fellow shows up. He doesn't have very good credentials, and he's kind of straggly, and he says to me, Mark, I will tend the garden that you have planted. And I say, well, you don't have very many qualifications as a gardener. What makes you think you can do this? And he says, well, no, I'm not a gardener. I'm a carpenter by trade, but I enjoy gardening, and I will do my best. And so reluctantly, as he is the only remaining applicant, I say, fine, you can look after my garden. And I think to myself, well, he's going to make a mess of it, but what choice do I have? And I leave. I go where I have to go, and I'm gone for some months, all the while worrying about my garden and whether this hired gardener is going to be able to make it as beautiful as it would have been if I had done it. And finally, it's time for me to go back. And I make the journey home, worrying and filled with trepidation.